Howdy, folks. This is Paul Cauthen, and you're listening to Walking the Floor.
Man, you need to have your own radio show, dude. That's coming.
I'm walking the floor over you.
Walking the floor.
I'm walking the floor. Walking the floor over you.
Hola, senors and senoritas. I am Chris Shiflett, and it is Walking the Floor time. Yes. Coming to you live today from a shitty little hotel room in Yucca Valley because I played out at Pappy and Harriet's last night. Pappy and Harriet's. I like to think of it as the greatest venue in the world. I've been looking forward to this one, and Pappy's did not let me down last night, man. That was a great show. Crazy windstorm going on. I got like dust in my throat. I got dust all over everything. But it was great, and we needed it because we had a couple of rough days on the road. It's been a crazy week. Our van broke down in the middle of nowhere in Idaho. We had to go rent a U-Haul and a rental car to get up to Ketchum, but we made it to the gig up there, and then the next day drove down to Idaho Falls, or Twin Falls rather, and picked up a new van, and then began our 13-hour odyssey to the desert to get out here. So it's like one of those days where, you know, like the first half of a drive like that, you're like, yeah, it's cool, I'm all right, you know, just drinking coffee, kind of taking naps and stuff. And then that second half, just gets a little weird. Gets a little weird in the van after 8-9 hours. But we made it. We had a great time. Okay, before we get too much further, I got a couple announcements to make about some good upcoming stuff happening. On the 8th of April, when I'm down in Nashville, I am doing an in-store at Grimey's, which is a fantastic record store out there. So come down at 5 o'clock, doing a little acoustic in-store at Grimey's. That's the night before we play in Nashville. Then I'm also doing kind of a record release in-store out at Side One Dummy, which is the record label that's putting out my record, on April 15th at the Side One Dummy new store out there in Glendale. I think I'm going to make a Facebook event with all the, address and all that sort of stuff. And I think that one kicks off at 11. Then there's also a record store day in-store down in Long Beach at Fingerprints, another fantastic record store. That's on April 22nd. And while you're looking into all those, make sure you get on my website or my Facebook page. Check out all the remaining tour dates. There's a few of them left. We got San Diego, Nashville, New York, and Atlanta. I think that Atlanta show is going to sell out, so you better get those tickets quick. Get those tickets quick, baby. Come on, I warned you. All right, let's pay some bills. Let me tell you about my friends over at Zounds.com. Zounds makes gear affordable. They can split your order total over 4, 6, 8, or 12 monthly payments, and they never charge interest to make it easier than ever to afford the gear you want. And Zounds has absolutely free shipping on every order, so get your butt on over to Zounds.com and pick up some gear, man. They got all the best music gear at Zounds.com. All right, let's hop on over to the interview. My guest today is Mr. Paul Cauthen, who hails from Texas. In fact, he's a member of the Fraternal Order of Musicians known as the Texas Gentlemen. And he's made a fantastic record called My Gospel that he recorded over the course of a couple years in a few different states and a few different studios, one of which was down in the legendary Muscle Shoals, and he even got some singing tips from Rick Hall himself. Paul's a hard-working musician who tours with, anybody from pop singers to country singers to punk rock singers. The night that I talked to him, he was actually opening up for Social Distortion down in Orange County. But I was lucky enough to snag some time with him, and we had a great conversation that we're going to get to right now. This is Paul Cauthen on Walking the Floor.
Go home all alone without a try. Oh, I could be your kind of guy.
So what brings you out here? I know you're on tour. You're opening for Social D tonight.
Man.
Here, you can choke up on that mic a little bit if you want.
I've been good old SM7 here.
Yeah.
Recorded a lot of demos in the closets of East Texas with one of these mics. Man, I've just been out on the road. I've been kind of dogging it for the past, year. And we've been out, really spending a lot of time on the West Coast.
Right.
And, my management's out here, and they're kind of feeding me through some pipelines up. And I've been going with Cody Jinks and Ward Davis. I've been out with some good country guys playing the real country. So
right.
I'm really enjoying it. Social D, this is really my, I guess I did a festival with them, but that wasn't like opening for them on just one of their shows. So
what's that like for you playing in front of different crowds like that? Like
man,
you play in front of like the strict country crowd, and
yeah,
in front of like punk rock kids.
I was with Elle King on the road with her. And before that, I was with Brian Fallon and Ryan Bingham.
Oh, cool.
Just acoustic.
Yeah.
So it started out kind of like that. So seeing the Bingham crowd enjoy it, like easier to capture because they're used to some stomping, beer drinking country and some other kind of old vibe country.
Yeah.
And then, Brian Fallon's crowd's kind of making them believers in it.
Right.
And then when you go into the Elle King tour, it's even further than that, they weren't even expecting a country kind of gospel opening band for a pop tour,
Right.
And if you win them over, when you put yourself in a market where you actually, I guess you belong, per se, it makes it easier.
Right.
So it's cool.
Where do you think you belong?
And I think it could go on anybody's record player.
Yeah.
I'd try to keep it 180-degree palette.
Right.
For anybody. Try to, I think it's been crazy. A lot of my friends' kids are just loving it.
Right.
They love it. And I love that. And hearing like little children being drawn to it. I'm like, okay, that's good. That means retirement's going to be okay.
Yeah.
They'll be coming out when they're 18.
Yeah.
So
street teaming it for you.
Street teaming it for me.
I mean, can you talk a little bit? I mean, you talk about you've been on tour a lot, supporting your record. But what does a young artist in your position have to do to break through nowadays?
Hustle your ass off and hope you have a good team guiding the whole project.
I mean, it's different than when I started out. The business model, if you will, is different.
It's every day it changes.
Right.
It's almost getting to a point where a YouTube video is archaic. It's like now it's just Facebook Live. It's reality. It's like they want it now. It's instantaneous.
Should we be streaming this right now?
No,
Shane,
this is perfect.
Man, stream it.
No, this is perfect. I'm doing more. I'm listening more and connected more with podcasts than I am anything else right now.
Right.
And like I said, with the business model changing, it's just, every single day there's somebody doing something different that tends to be hip.
Right.
It's like a trend-setting thing, what I mean? It's like...
I had a really interesting conversation with our manager over the weekend. And, you tend to think of the streaming and people being able to get music, online or whatever, is sort of the thing that killed the record industry. But his take on it was a little different. It was a lot different. He loves streaming, and he thinks over the course of an artist's career, you actually make a lot more money. But that's over the next 40, 50 years or something. Yeah. But what does that do for somebody right now that needs tour support, that needs to pay to rent a van?
It doesn't do much.
Pay for hotels,
doesn't
hire
do much.
Some guys,
And we're talking about there's not really the greatest middle class in this business. It's kind of like
feast or famine.
Yeah, you're either killing it or it's like I said, you're on the road dogging it. Just dogging it out, just trying to spread the word. But I think that this whole industry and the way that it's just revolving. It just turns on top of itself. Like we're talking about old kind of country music is hip now for the hipsters.
Right.
It's like everything is just like reoccurring, and maybe the streaming process would be like a back end thing for us in our older years. I don't know, but for an artist right now, it's not gonna. You're spreading your music, but you've got to go out there and capture a fan handshake at a time.
Right.
Like that's how this business is. It's basically you got to build the trust in the people to listen.
Yeah.
There's not enough time in the day to listen to all the records that are being put out.
Sure. Yeah.
Especially online. Yeah. It's over, saturated.
Yeah, so. That's the thing I always wonder, like, how do you draw attention? If anybody can put their record up online, but then how do you get people to know it's there? That's the trick.
I've always kind of thought being slightly off from center or what's super hip at the moment, putting your see what's everybody's gravitating towards, and kind of move to the right a little bit and try to find that open space somewhere.
It's interesting in listening to your record. It sounds like it's a really well-crafted production. It's a beautifully made record.
Thank you.
Which is, it's interesting. I think there's this crop of young artists who are almost like sophisticated beyond their years, and I'm wondering where that's all coming from. I think of you. I think I recently interviewed Robert Ellis. I recently interviewed Aaron Lee Tasjan.
Oh, yeah.
Not to say that all your records sound the same, because they don't, but there is like a depth in them and almost like a discipline about the recording process that you don't hear. I know I certainly didn't have it. I don't have it still,
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
Man, my producer, Bo Bedford in Dallas, we got together, and what got our, kind of got us going were old records, like the band. And we love the Swampers and Muscle Shoals. And we love this old style of recording with really kind of wrapped around badass drummers and good rhythm sections. And we really like the old style, cutting it live, trying to really push ourselves, and we'll spend a lot of time on the album, and I have brought 25 or 30 songs to my gospel, and we cut it down to about 10 or 11 on the album. So we recorded there in Dallas, and then we decided we wanted to put the, guts of the record with all these, gospel background singers, and Bo had an in out there, Muscle Shoals, and that's what really got us even more, okay, it's time to be strict on what we do here. Our time here is precious.
Right.
What's
that room like though when you walk in there? Is it like
it's a dank,
in 1970
stinky,
or whatever?
Oh,
is
dude,
it all
it's dusty and it's good.
They got the same gear and everything in there?
Dude, I was singing right when I finished my first track. John Gifford, the guy who is an engineer there in Muscle Shoals, comes up to me. He's like, "How'd you like singing into Edda's mic?" I was like, "You better be glad you didn't tell me that before I cut this."
Right.
That's a total mind fuck.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just a beautiful thing. And then Spooner Oldham walks in, and he's like, "Well, you want to go across the street and have some banana pudding?"
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do. So we went across the street, and he told me about the first time he met Elvis, and just like, man, it's just the spirit is there.
Yeah, it's inspiring.
Man, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
We had finished about 5 tracks. We cut My Gospel, Be There Soon. Those real spiritual, kind of vibey songs on the album. We cut them there, and he came in, I think it was like on a Sunday or it was a weekend, and we come back into the studio, and Rick Hall is in the control room. And I open up that door, and he's listening to My Gospel, my song. And I'm like, that's when I'm just like, holy shit, man. And Rick says, he pushes stop on the control board or whatever the hell it's called, the spaceship. He stops it, and he says, "Paul, come over here for a second." And everybody left the room, and he's like, "Paul, you're a good singer." He's like, "But if you want to be a great singer," he says, "finish your sentences." And what did he say? He says, "Yeah, finish your sentences and pronounce your S's."
Really?
That's what he said.
That's very specific advice. That's amazing.
And dude, it all...
Did you go back and retract the vocal?
Yeah, hell yeah, I did, man. So it's just like, when he told me that, like, I listened to everything I'd done before, and that's what I needed. He was like the final puzzle piece of how
perceptive.
Dude, he's like,
was that the same advice he gave to, whoever?
No. He just pinpointed. It's like if you take your old car into a mechanic and you've got this fucking same problem with your carburetor, and it's the same thing over and over. You go to 3 different places and you've done it over and over and over, and it's still the same thing. You finally go to this one mechanic and he's like, you need to fix your lifter. We need to rejet this carb.
Right.
And he rejets it, and it's perfect.
Right. Smooth sailing.
It's smooth sailing from then on out. And if that problem ever occurs, you know what you can do to fix it.
How amazing. I mean, that's like the fantasy version of why you would go to that room, to get a little pearl of wisdom like that.
Oh, man.
And you usually don't get that kind of stuff.
No. You don't at all.
Yeah.
And I talked to Gifford about it, John, and I talked to Spencer and the guys that work up there, and they're just like, yeah, man, every once in a while he'll go sprinkle a little bit of that dust on some people.
Well, you're lucky you got some.
Oh, man, it's a blessing. Man.
I had read a couple interesting things about your record. I read that you worked on it over the course of 3 years in 3 different states. I mean, you kind of just touched on that a little bit. So I'm curious about the story there. But I also read that you turned down a record deal offer from Third Man, which I thought was kind of...
Well, it wasn't a record deal offer per se. Yeah. It was an opportunity to record with them, and they gave me a price on how we could work a kind of a deal. And it was too expensive for my taste. And I've worked with Vance Powell and those cats up there before with my last band, Sons of Fathers.
Right.
Nothing would throw me more to work with them ever in the future. They're amazing. I love what they do. What they did with Margot and everything. Alex Munoz is a friend of mine. He plays with Nikki Lane. He produced Margot's record, and he's in with that Will. So I'm in with that team, and I love all those guys. But Texas was kind of where it just ended up going. I sent a cold email to Bo Bedford, and we kind of put a band around it and just did it grassroots and did it at our own pace. And he helped me financially through the beginning stages before I even had backing. He was just like, let's put the red light on.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I couldn't have done that up in Nashville.
Do you live in Nashville or do you live in Texas?
No, I live in Wichita Falls, Texas, North Texas.
Okay.
So I'm up there, and like I said, Jack White and that whole crew, that's just a powerhouse. You know?
Yeah.
And I don't even think I was honestly ready to do that at that time. I needed to do some more soul searching.
Yeah.
I needed to write some more tunes. And I told Bo on an email, I was like, man, I was thinking about going up to Nashville and trying to make this thing work somehow, some way, get some investor backing, trying to figure out a way to pay for all this.
So you wanted to go make your record before you had a record deal. And
oh, yeah.
That sort of
I
stuff.
wanted, and that's what we did with My Gospel. Except we got a back-end deal, and so it actually paid for the album once we had that record to shop.
Right.
So the record, My Gospel will forever be a record that did a lot of work for me.
Right.
It opened up a lot of gates for me.
Yeah.
Maybe there's not a number one AAA hit on it.
But it put you on the map.
Oh, my gosh, dude. It put my team together.
Yeah.
Made everybody believers, in it. And drew attention, to even get attention in any format. I was talking to Shane this morning about it, like to even get on an Americana chart. Do you know how many people release Americana records?
Right.
It's just
it's crowded.
It's cool. It's
crowded
crowded.
out there.
But, yeah, man, it's been a long haul, and I'm glad that I chose to stay in Texas and finish it there.
Right.
I've got some guys that I really am looking forward to working with in Nashville here throughout this year, writing and doing some other projects. I'm working with Joe Pisapia. He's in that band Guster.
Oh, okay.
He was the main multi-instrumentalist.
Yeah, cool.
He's a cool dude. And
you going to go write with him or something?
I've done some duet stuff with another guy. It's kind of like an Everly Brothers thing. Noah Jackson.
Like another project?
Yeah, it's just just something to keep me going.
Yeah,
some fun stuff that
you
maybe one day it'll come about. But I'm focused strictly on releasing my gospel and the Paul Cauthen project, I guess, whatever, and the Texas Gentleman. Those are my main things. So.
Wait, are you in the Texas Gentleman?
Yeah, I'm part of that too.
Oh God, small world.
Yeah.
Because I just shot this a pilot for, Shane. I just shot this pilot for CMT for this. It's kind of like almost like a TV version of what we're doing right now, like a little interview, a little performance kind of thing. And we were looking around to try to find some guys to put a house band together for the shoot. And I called Audley Freed. And he was like, "Oh, you should talk to this band, the Texas Gentlemen, because those guys are, shit hot, and they do it in a second,
Yeah, man, they're the. It's basically
what is that like? Is it a
Texas
collective
Gentleman
or something? It's not like a band, but just a group of players.
It's a fraternal order of musicians. Yeah, we were all of us were the outcasts in college, kind of. So now we finally have a fraternity,
right?
So it's kind of cool. No, it's just basically the ringers of the DFW region.
Right.
And there's some guys, have you heard of the linemen?
I don't know.
The linemen, the Nashville linemen, those guys are out in Nashville, and they have kind of the equivalent. It's kind of Dave Cobb's crew of their ringers and all them.
Yeah,
but we're just kind of doing our... kind of our take on the Swampers, but it's just there's about 20 of us,
right?
And there's different frontmen. I would call myself like a honorary Texas Gentleman because I'm a frontman. There was a core of.
Do you have the tattoo, and where is it?
I don't yet, but Bo and I were about to get one on the last tour.
Oh, nice!
And I think we got to do it in Texas, so we haven't been in Texas much. So the time has kind of been small. But
is there like a really strong music scene down there in Dallas Fort Worth?
I'm telling you, man, there's something happening. There's a revision of this old blues, the old folk, and the super country vibes going on, and then the rock and indie scene is always kind of been thriving in Dallas.
Sure,
it's always been pretty good, but it's all coming back, man. Like Deep Ellum had a dip there for a while.
Yeah, that's
everything
what it seemed
kind of
like.
disappeared, and like it was like the post Stevie Ray Vaughan blues kind of thing happening, and then kind of all shifted to the 6th Street vibe kind of thing where people doing bar banding, and then here comes this surge of singer-songwriters and people really pouring out the arts again.
Oh, that's good to hear.
So it's really cool, man. So there's so many damn good players around the area.
Is that going to be the next place that everybody moves to from California?
I think they're already doing it, man. To be honest, it's happening every day, and it's a beautiful thing, man. Because honestly, California cats are hustlers and they're fans of the arts.
Yeah.
We open our arms to anybody.
Oh, right on. I mean, Texas has such a incredible music lineage to it, and I talk about this probably too much for people that listen to this podcast, but I'm always kind of fascinated by that sort of the insular Texas circuit of the old days that seems to continue. Bands can still do that, like kind of just exist in Texas and make a good living and.
The biggest thing, is you can't just be a Texas band.
Right.
That's what we say, because you can.
Right.
You can make a living, which is a beautiful thing.
Sure.
When you're older, you can kind of just pull these little southern little tours, when you're super old, I guess that would be cool. But, right now you got to make it a point to get out of Texas, because you'll get paid down in Texas. You can eat, you're not getting paid a lot.
Right.
But, I mean, you can eat and pay your bills and stick around and become a local at a bar, instead of seeing a different place every day,
Is that where you grew up? Is Dallas, Fort Worth area?
I was born in Dallas. I grew up in Tyler, Texas.
Where's that?
East Texas, 2 hours east of Dallas.
Okay.
In between Dallas and Shreveport, Louisiana, off I-20.
Okay.
So right there near Lindale, where Miranda Lambert and all them are from. I'm from about 15 miles away.
And what was that like? Like, what got you into music when you were a kid? I'm curious, what your early sort of musical memories would have been.
I was raised in the gospel church, Church of Christ, all a cappella. My granddad was the song leader, and he taught me old folk songs when I was real young, and taught me how to sing harmony. And that's how that started. Went from there to listening to Elvis and Roy Orbison. My granddad loved.
Like, how old were you?
Oh man, I was listening to Elvis. You know, that gospel record of his, where he's on the front with the church behind him. That was the earliest record I've ever heard.
What do you think drew you to that music instead of like whatever, goofball pop music or heavy metal your friends were listening to?
Dude, I thought it was the only music that exists till I went over to my friend Nasir Jaber's house across the street and listened to, No Doubt. And, listening to, Gwen Stefani rock out, and then he had like Slipknot records and Misfits and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, there's a dark side to music too. It's not all happy, holy gospel records,
My oldest son just he bought a Slayer sweatshirt.
Yeah.
I was like, do you know what Slayer is? He's like, no. I'm like, I should probably play you some of that before you go wearing that around.
You need to be schooled a little bit.
If people are going to see you wearing that thing, they're going to want to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
Trust me.
That's awesome.
So when did you start playing, playing guitar and playing in bands and all that sort of stuff?
Well, my granddaddy bought me a guitar when I was 6.
Wait, is Church of Christ where there's no instrumental accompaniment?
No, but see, my granddad had a J45 at the house, and he would get up and sing Johnny Cash tunes with my grandmother, and they'd sing Jackson and, Ring of Fire and stuff like that for friends during Christmas. And stuff. And, I really was drawn to the guitar. I was always just, every time I'd pass the guitar when it'd be on the stand, I'd just strum it, when you walk by when you're a kid, you're just fascinated by it. You love
Totally.
It. So I did that for years when I was 5, 6. And then finally my granddad came in. I remember I was on the bottom bunk of a red bunk bed over on Bain Place in Tyler, Texas, and he comes in and he's playing this guitar and he's playing this Johnny Cash thing or something. I wake up and I notice it's not his guitar, and he gives it to me. It's on my birthday.
Oh, nice.
So he gave me that guitar, and he taught me the 3 chords he knew. And
E-A-B. There you go. You got it.
You got it.
That's all you need, boy.
That's all you need, boy. 1, 4, 5. But we did that, and my grandmother put me in piano lessons. She taught me how to sing shape notes in church. With my granddad and her taught me how to do that.
I just, like a couple months ago, heard that term. I'd never heard shape notes. It's like a different way of written music, right?
It's an old gospel
It comes
form.
out of the church, right?
Yeah, it's the church form. So it's really easy it's a visual thing. You're not reading a note. You don't look at something and say, oh, B minor.
Right.
You're not thinking that.
Right.
You're like, you see where you start, and you notice when to go up or go down. You roll that wave while reading it.
Okay.
So it reads up or down.
Oh,
bass, clef,
hence
treble,
the term shape note. Okay,
exactly. So it's just like the shape of the flow of the song.
This is where it comes up. This is where it goes
exactly.
down. Right. Interesting.
So it's just you're reading where it flows. So you kind of learn how to read a wave,
right?
Rather than reading notes. Okay, let's be strict and hard. Nobody's reading that color. And that line going down means this.
Right.
That's bullshit.
Okay. It's beyond my pay grade, believe me.
Yeah, dude. I mean, there are people, the George Martin thinkers of the world. They're like, well, it's like this, and this is pinpoint accuracy.
Right.
But it's kind of like in the Church of Christ, you're playing everything by ear anyway.
Oh, really?
It's all an ear thing.
Sure.
Harmony is the center focal point of the church.
What a great training ground for what you do.
Man, I tell you, I wouldn't take it back at all.
Right.
There's times, in high school, my dad was so strict about after the dance, getting there on Sunday morning and we'd be hungover, coming into church, singing those songs, dude.
Oh, man.
Waiting to get home to smell mom's roast beef right when you open up You know, she'd put on the crock pot in the morning. She'd get up real early, and by the time you get off church, come home, that's what you look forward to, and then you get to watch the Cowboys.
So when did you start playing in bands? And like, did you get right into like the country thing, or did you start out playing in like, you know, like you said,
I was
like Slipknot,
in jam bands.
Oh, okay.
Jam bands.
Oh, really?
Bluegrass and jam bands. It's kind of where it started.
Right.
My first band was just a band I put together in Tyler. Some friends, the Corkmas brothers, and this guy, this tree man. He's 55 years old, named Paul Smith, and played a 19-string bass or something. It was like the most strings I've ever seen on a bass. That is exclusive to the jam world. Jam world bass, you know.
Yeah.
So
I always trip out on jam bands. I always have the weirdest gear, man. It's like you look at some jam bands and it's like they're kind of like got like a hippie thing going.
Warrior basses.
Yeah, but like
Parker flies.
It looks like they just went to a Guitar Center clearance sale.
Oh,
and just give me all of it.
All that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, it started there, and then of course before that I was singing with my grandmother and my granddad and picking songs with them and singing 3-part harmony. That's kind of what really got me going, just with playing an instrument and singing with somebody.
Right.
And then I was like, well, this is fun. You know, my grandmother used to take me to bluegrass festivals. Like
really?
Overton Bluegrass Festival. And I get to see,
yeah.
I saw Allison Krauss in Union Station when I was real young. And
cool.
Blew my mind.
Right.
Like, more than anything musically that I've ever had my mind blown was when I really got just tossed in the middle of some bluegrass ringers.
Right.
And just see that. It's like, still to this day, I'll never flat pick like that. You know?
No.
It's not possible.
Those guys are the original shred.
Dude, the
guys,
original
Ingve Mountain
shred,
Stands.
man.
Yeah.
That's where it's at.
Yeah.
So, started doing that, and then I was like, you know, high school, going into college. I went to jail. And I got out of jail for smoking weed and moved up to Colorado and really started digging into bluegrass.
I thought you were about to say, then I really started smoking weed.
Then I really, that's true too.
Yeah.
So moved up to Colorado and, you know, there's guys like Jeff Austin and Drew Emmett from Great American Taxi, and Jeff Austin from Yonder Mountain String Band. And those guys I used to run into up in Nederland. And my buddy Cody Wales was the drummer kind of the town in Nederland, kind of whored himself out to every band. You know, he was just the
Sounds
drummer.
like a drummer.
Sounds like a drummer. Yeah. So I met him, and he kind of linked me in with all these bluegrass cats.
Yeah.
So I started just playing these pickup gigs, whatever I could.
Yeah.
Playing Grateful Dead tunes. You know, eating acid and rolling around in the hills. Well, that happened for about 3 years, and then I was like, man, I've got to get back down to Texas and try to get a grip in this business and make a living. I could sit up here and eat mushrooms and frolic in the hills and play bluegrass for the rest of my life real easy. Just as easy as just staying in Texas and doing the Texas market. You can just stay up there and enjoy the beauty.
Yeah, sure.
You know?
Was Sons of Fathers where that...
That's when that started. So I come back to Texas.
Right.
And I live with my mother for a little bit, and I hang out with her, save some money, and then I'm out in Lubbock for a while. And sleeping on couches and doing songwriter things out of the Blue Light in Lubbock, out on Buddy Holly Avenue and stuff like that. So I spent a lot of time in Lubbock, just doing a bunch of songwriting, and then I was like, okay, I've got to get down into Austin or San Marcos or something, you know, down where it's really kicking in Texas. So I moved down to Austin, and I couldn't keep it in Austin for too long. It was too expensive, so I kept on going further south. I moved down to San Marcos. So I run into this tall bass player, this guy that's just playing with his, just playing his heart out. And I told him, I was like, man, we got to start a band. And he's like, no, for about 6 months. We were going to this bar called Cheatham Street Warehouse. And it was the famous bar there in town. The owner of that place took George Strait in his panel van all the way up to Nashville to get a record deal back in the day.
Really?
That's the story of this place.
Wow.
Right there on the railroad tracks. Stevie Ray Vaughan played there with Double Trouble, cutting his teeth.
Yeah.
So we're there.
Is San Marcos the place that's like right on the border that's like a... Am I thinking of the right place?
No.
Oh, okay.
San Marcos is south of Austin, in between Austin and San Antonio.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Somebody, I was in Marfa once, and somebody was telling me that there was a town closer to the border that was almost
Bandera?
like, it was like a deserted town.
I think
that had
it's
been
probably
like
you're probably
taken
thinking
over by people that were just like off the grid and artists and freaky deaky people.
Marfa. Yeah.
Well, it was, but I was in Marfa. But somebody
Terlingua.
told me about, maybe that's what it was.
Terlingua.
Yeah.
Or that's definitely off the grid, folks out there.
Oh, nice.
But
Anyway,
man,
I'm sorry to get you
no,
off
that's
track.
a beautiful thing, man. It's good to get off the grid in those towns. There's some ghost town vibey things in Texas that you can go to. You can definitely, I guess, kill somebody up north and go down there and hide away.
Good to know.
Yeah,
good to know.
But yeah, so moved down to San Marcos, and there was the daughter of Kent Finley, the guy who owns the bar Cheatham Street Warehouse that drove George Strait up to Nashville.
Yeah.
This is how my link to George Strait. I always keep that link very clear for all the listeners. Just love George Strait.
Sure.
But Halliana said, man, I'm doing this songwriter tour up in New York and going up to the Northeast, and I'd love for you and David to come and just sing. And so I was like, yeah, that'd be great. First time I ever gone to New York, you know, we go up there and David and I start talking more. You know, we were kind of, I guess, button heads at the beginning. You know, not really into each other's music, but kind of were a fan of each other at the same time, but wouldn't admit it.
Sure.
Kind of thing going on. Rivalry, I guess.
Yeah.
And he and I went to a bar, McSorley's Ale House. We drank some beers there one late night. It was December 17th, 2010. And we decided we're going to go back to Texas when we come back from New York, and we're going to start a duet kind of vibing band, and we're going to do it. And we drank beers until 4 a.m, and we had a band for 5 years. Almost
And
5
two
years.
records, right?
Yeah, 2 records. And it was great.
I mean, was that hard to walk away from? Like, if you're sort of like, that's your first moment of like, I am a professional musician and I'm doing this, and then to just leave that and start from scratch?
It was definitely one of those decisions that you're regretting and you're thankful for at the same time for a long time. You're like, why did I do that? I'm bust right now. I have no money.
Right.
I have nothing. I have no management, no team. You know, I have nothing. It's me and a guitar again.
It's like breaking up with your girlfriend.
Oh, dude, it was just like that.
Waves of regret.
That's how it was. I'm about to drink Marty Stewart's water.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could take this fresh one, too.
Nah, we'll drink Marty's.
All right.
Why is there lipstick on this?
Oh, God, Marty, I hope you're not listening. Oh. I could see that you just became a better guitar player, though. Look at that.
I'm
it's
ready.
magic.
I'm ready.
We're going to put that to the test in a minute.
The flat picking's ready now.
Yeah. So what did lead to, like, why did you guys break up? Were you like, 2 people? That's one too many. I'm going solo, bro.
We had written all the songs for that time.
Right.
You know? He was more on the pop side of things, pulling that to the left, and I was more on the country side of things, pulling it to the right. And that tension made what Sons of Fathers was. Right. In the center there. And once that tension kept on going away from, you know, opposite directions. And the tension kind of went away and the fire kind of dwindled out. And, you know, Dave and I were button heads there at the end, and there was some nasty times. Yeah. And we just decided that this would be better for us as humans to go separate ways. Right. And so he's doing his thing down in San Marcos still, and he's producing records, and he put out a record of his own. And,
yeah, right on.
Yeah, so they're doing great things.
Yeah, that's cool. So what's next for you? I mean, when did your record come out?
October.
Okay, so it's still pretty fresh. So are you just like road dogging it for now till the end of time?
Yeah, we're gonna hit it hard.
Do you like touring?
Dude, I love touring. If the people are out there, and there's somebody to play to, I'm there.
Yeah.
You know,
I saw you're going to Ireland.
Yeah, first time out of the country.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've been a sand wedge away from Mexico my whole life, and I've never gone.
Right.
You know?
Oh, that's going to be exciting.
I'm stoked. I'm getting married this year.
Oh, nice. Congrats.
Got a fiance. Picked her up on Craigslist. Farmers only. Actually. No, but October 21st, I'll be tying the knot. I've been with my lady for 5 years. She's been with me, the ups and downs, the all arounds. And
I remember before I married my wife, a very good friend of mine was over with his wife, who's also a very good friend of mine. And my buddy Joe is also a musician. And they'd been together for years. And I remember his wife said to my, at the time, fiance, now she's my wife, she just looked at her and just goes, "Oh my God, you're going to fucking hate him." I was like, hey,
wow.
That's bad advice. Bad advice that has been proven to be true from time to time, because it is fucking hard to be married to a guy that does what we do.
Oh, yeah.
You're gone a lot, and you kind of have to be I hate to use the word egomaniac, but you have to be focused on what you're doing in a way that is oftentimes repellent to the ones that you love the most. You know?
For sure.
Yeah.
When I go home, I hole away a lot during the day, and I go up to my music room, and I've got my Telecaster in there and all my stuff, and that's the only way I can stay sane.
Right.
We've got to have our time of separation, but close.
Yeah.
It's like if you.
I mean, I don't know about you, but it's like you have to go to that like quiet, alone place to just write and create and do the thing that you do.
It's a have to.
Yeah.
And she's an independent woman.
Right.
And I feel like if you really find the right one, if you look at the common thread, every woman that is backing one of us, or vice versa, if it's a man with with a female on the road, they're independent and they're strong as hell.
Sure.
They're just strong rocks of people, of humans, and that's what it takes. Yeah. Especially if you're going to have anything long lasting, Yeah. And Lex is a 5th generation farmer. They make their living with their hands in the dirt, and it's something I respect. Her father and her brother are the most American stand-up men I've ever met.
Sure.
And their grandfather was more American than it even comes, than their grandfather was in the Dust Bowl, and that's even the hardest sons of bitches you could ever even talk about surviving it. And so it's just like, I'm just blessed to have that family to lean on.
Yeah.
So.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, you want to play a song?
Love
to hear a song.
Love to. In my mind, I'll always see you. I'll always feel you standing there with the same cotton dress you wore when I first met you. I recall the sunlight in your hair. Can a dream break your heart? Can it tear your world apart? Let the flame light the fire. Let it burn through wild desire. Go on, let it burn. Let it burn. Let it burn. In my life, I know I'll miss you. All the times I should have kissed you, locked away in some old drawer. Well, it takes time to mend a soul, and we've both been growing old. You don't live here anymore. Can a dream break your heart? Can it tear your world apart? Let the flame light the fire. Let it burn through wild desire. Oh, let it burn. Let it burn. Let it burn. Oh, let it burn. Go on, let it burn. 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 Thank you.
Wonderful.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming down today. I know you braved the track.
Oh, man.
If next time ever comes, I'll be the one. I'll be the one.
Oh yeah, that was Paul Cauthen doing a fantastic acoustic version of Piece of Work from his record, My Gospel. Make sure you get on over to paulcauthenmusic.com or check him out on Twitter, @CauthenMusic. See what he's doing, see what he's up to, buy his record, check out his tour dates. You know the drill. While you're doing that, make sure you go to the iTunes store, listen to the old interviews on Walking the Floor. They're all up there. And while you're doing that, you can even pre-order my record, get a bonus song. That's right, Mrs. America, bonus track. And you can get on over to my website, check out the remaining tour dates. We'll see you at Grimey's on April 8th, at the Side One Dummy store in Glendale on the 15th of April, and at Fingerprints on April 22nd. Man, there's just so much to do. It's confusing. That's it for this week. Adios, amigos.
On my side, I wanna see you rise in the morning, lay down tonight. The way